ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಡಿಸ್ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ hello, yeah. Okay. Yeah, hello everyone. So today we are here for your current affair lecture. Now this is the second one that we are having for September. Okay, let's get started. There are some important topics here. First is this stellar parallax. Okay, see, this was in news because of an Event Horizon mission, if you might have heard of NASA. Because of that, it was in news. Now, this is a bit of tricky concept that I'll try to explain it to you. Okay, see what is parallax. First is this. Okay, just listen carefully. It's a bit typical, but you will get it. See, parallax. Parallax is actually made from two words, that is para and alex. Para means besides, that is from the side if you see, and alex means change, that is change that you observe from the side. That is change that you observe from the side. When you look something from the side, the change that you observe becomes parallax. Now, where have you seen this parallax? Like if you see, like if you close one of your eye, okay, and then look at this thumb from this right eye, and then look at this thumb from the left eye. Can you see the thumb moves a little? Thumb moves a little in this direction, correct? Correct. So this apparent change in the position is called parallax. Why this change is happening? Because your frame of reference or from where you are looking is changing. So this changes from here to here. Now, one more thing you can do if you are sitting at your home, that you can move it very close and then do this. Then you will see that the motion of your thumb, or the difference between where your thumb is located to your left eye to your right eye is a lot different. While if you move it away, the difference will be much smaller. Like this and this, the difference will be much smaller. So the finger will move from here to here. While if you are closer, it will move from here to here. Correct? So parallax, just by general understanding of doing this, you can understand that if you are close, then the apparent movement is more pronounced. If you are far, if your thumb is far, the movement of this thumb is very low. Understood? For example, this you also have seen when you are going on trains. When you are going on a train, then what you see, you see all those like electric poles and the trees that are just next to the train, that moves very fast to you. While if you see the mountains that are far away, they are moving very slowly, almost the same mountain you see for a very long time, correct? Then you move to the next mountain. It works like this. This is also an example of parallax. Why? Because something that is closer moves a lot in this direction, correct? When your position changes, correct? While if you move it away, the apparent change is much smaller. Now this change that you were seeing was because of the eyes, when you were seeing it with the right eye and when you are seeing it with the left eyes. Actually it is not about your eyes, it is about the place from which you are seeing this, that is the reference point. Now when you are moving in a vehicle like a train, right now let's say you have a mountain here, right now you are sitting here, you see this mountain, then after some time your train has moved and from here you see this mountain, correct? So now this eyes are the same, this eyes are the same, but the distance again here has changed. Now because there is apparent shift in reference point, there is also shift in where the mountains looks to you, correct? That understanding once you have that, because of the left eye and left eye, similarly if you have both of your eyes open but you are moving, then what you will see, you will see apparent shift in whatever you are looking at. Understood? Now this shift is called parallax. Once you understand what is parallax, now see this. Now see this. This is what we were doing, correct? Now this was an experiment in school. So you look at your thumb and then from your left eye, where your thumb seems to you to be, you mark that on the wall, correct? You keep your thumb like this and where you think your thumb is pointing towards from your eyes, you mark it there on the wall. Similarly you do for the right one also, correct? Now of course this will be at some distance that you might have observed if you have done this by now, okay? So this distance becomes the parallax. This whole thing that there is some distance between your, when you change your observation points, is parallax. Now instead of the background wall, what I'll do is I'll replace it with this. Yes, now I replace this with a star. Now this is your eyes. Instead of eyes, what we have is this. Now listen carefully. So there's a star there. This star is very close to the sun and earth, that is very close to our solar system, correct? Very close to the sun as well as the earth. Now all these stars, all the background wall that we have, now instead of the background wall we have many other different stars that are located very far away. So these are the stars that are located far away from here. Now see, now from earth this is like the background wall. Now from earth, when the earth is here, that is let's say in the January month, earth is here. From here I observe the star. Then if I draw a line, straight line towards where I am seeing the star from my observation point, that is on earth, it will be somewhere here, correct? Somewhere in the sky. Of course there are many stars here, but they are very far off, so they are almost stationary. Why they are stationary? As we understood with that mountain example, that something which is very far will seem almost stationary to you. Now this is very far, so it will almost be at rest to you, correct? For anything that is observing this space from the earth. Now once you get this, now similarly, if now one observation you have here, now you won't have two observations from here, like you cannot close your eyes this and see changes, because this is very far and this distance is very small, hopefully, between your two eyes, correct? So this won't be the parallax won't be observable for you with closing one eye or other eye. It will be observable when when the earth moves like this, and from January it reaches July, and in July it is now located here. Now from here, if you observe the star, now if you draw a line, it goes like this, correct? Now there is apparent shift in the location of the star, even though the star is moving much slowly, or almost may seem like stationary to you, but it has, in the observation, it has changed its location when you see it in the background of other stars. Now once you get this, that very simple way, that earth in the January, how it sees the star, marks it, then earth in July, how it sees the star, marks it. Now this is, there will be some distance. This is the only thing that you need to understand. After this, see, now do I know the distance between earth and sun? Do I know the distance between earth and sun? Yes, I do know. Do I know the angle of observation? Yes, if I am using a telescope or something like this, I know the angle of observation that I have. Why do I? Just by the telescope angle, how do I know the angle of observation? Because light always travels in a straight line. So just by that, I know the angle at which the star is located. So now I have this angle theta also. So I have this distance and theta. Now if you know anything about trigonometry, if you know this theta and you know this distance, if you know this distance and this theta, you can get this. Also you can get this. This is using different trigonometric angles. For example, one used here is tan theta is equals to distance from earth to sun upon distance from sun to star. So distance from earth to sun upon distance from sun to star. Not very important for you to understand what is tan theta, next what angle will be using. That's not important. The point is that you know the theta, you know this distance, by that you can know the distance this and this. That is just by simple observation, of this apparent change or this angle that you understand, you can find out the distance of this star, the correct distance of this star, at least to some degree correct. Of course, if you want the distance to be exactly correct, you will have to move closer, you will have to send different systems, radar system, this system, that system, all different systems you can use. Now, but this is one way of getting to the approximate answer, correct? This is how you find the distance. Now once you get this, now recently what has happened is this. See, first let's see the starting. Yeah, first thing is this. Yeah, what is stellar parallax? So apparent position shift of a nearby star when viewed from two widely separated viewpoints. What are these widely separated viewpoints? In our case, when we saw with the star, it was the earth in January and earth in July, correct? Widely separated observation points. And what you were observing? You are observing a nearby star, correct? Now this is being viewed from different viewpoints. Now see this analogy we have already seen, thumb trick, of course. Then this also we have understood. Parallax is equals to baseline upon distance. That is the same formula that you are using for tan theta. That's fine. Then now what did this New Horizon mission do? How did it use something called this? Now see, now see, on this date, this, see, basically I'll tell you very simply. So there is a satellite like this, let's say it is going on interplanetary mission, going here and there. Now what they did was they captured a photo of a far off star like this, of a star from this satellite as well as from the earth. Now just by knowing where this star is or at what distance this star is based on the satellite and the earth, and understanding how parallax works, they were able to identify where the satellite might be located. Now, the important thing is satellite can use something like this to navigate itself. See how? See how? See, let's say this is a satellite. Now, when it has a connection, with Earth, then it's fine. Correct? When it has a connection with Earth, then it's working absolutely fine. But if it has to go far off mission to, let's say, to around Pluto, now it does not have direct connection with Earth. How will it work? See, how will it navigate itself? Now, what we'll do in this satellite, we will fit 3D maps of the universe. Not universe literally, but 3D map of the areas that it has to go around. Now, it has the 3D map. Now, constantly what it can do, it can take photos of different stars. And based on what distance this star is located, it can understand where the satellite itself is located. Understood? So basically if it's like, if I am a satellite, I am going around a city, and based on let's say I am in Agra, so based on where is Agra fort to me, I know where I am in Agra. Based on where is Taj Mahal to me, in which direction, I know where I am in Agra. If I know the exact horizontal distance and angle from the Taj Mahal, I can identify correctly where I am located. So all this information about Agra's map will already be with the satellite. Now all it needs to understand is at what distance that satellite is from a particular star or from a particular place, so that it is able to navigate. Now, once the map is ready, then it knows that I have to go past this star and then reach another star and then come back to revolve around, let's say, sun, like this. So all this can be known. Constantly what it will do, it will keep on taking pictures based on parallax. It will be able to calculate the distance from the stars. Understood? Very simple. Then, so what did they do? So these are the two stars. Now, in these two stars, they took photos and shift was shown against far background stars. Now some shift or parallax was observed in both stars. Now if you understand, as we used in that example, you actually don't need two stars. Why they have taken two stars? So as to show two different variations. Because you have to show multiple samples, then only a concept gets proven or gets shown clearly. That's why they have used two stars. Otherwise, just one satellite and one star is enough. Why? Because some distance you will already know. That's it. Then once you get this, yeah, this is just the same thing explained to you, that compare the nearby target star's position between the two images. The parallel offset you can understand. Based on that, you can understand where the satellite is located right now. Yeah, why does this matter? This is simple. See, first is educational demo. So this will be largest real sky parallax baseline. Now we have not seen some parallax like this till now. Now we are going to see that. Two observations of a particular star from the earth, and then from the star. Then from the satellite. Both observing this star. The earth is also observing this, the satellite is also observing this. Now these becomes your two frame of reference. Based on this, you will calculate what? You will calculate some kind of parallax. Like you had your two eyes, now in respect of the whole universe, one eye is the earth and one eye is the satellite. That's it. One eye is the earth, one eye is the satellite. There will be apparent shift in the location of this star from where you are observing. Based on that, you can get the distances of this satellite from the star, this satellite from different celestial bodies. Understood? Simple. Just those two eyes that we started with, that you could understand with the thumb example. Now those two eyes are, one eye is Earth and one eye is this satellite that is very, very far off. What we were observing, that thumb has now become a star. That thumb has now become a star. Now, by both these observations, what we had, we used to have this angle, parallax angle, and then calculate everything. Same thing we are doing here also. And the background, earlier it was a wall, now the background is some far off stars in the universe. Understood? This is the best I can explain. This is only what you need, just basic understanding of it. Most probably they will only ask you, if this is the first question from this topic, they'll only ask you what is stellar parallax. But the statements may be sometimes confusing. So this understanding will help you mark the correct statement. That's it. They won't ask you multi-statement difficult questions from this. Okay? I will ask for it. Yeah. Then. So this you get. Yeah. So first is educational demo, then autonomous navigation, that you understood, then sensor fusion, then touching the limits. Okay. One more thing, that as I told you, this parallax method won't be that accurate, but it can still give you an idea, and it can give you an idea again and again, and also when you are not connected to the other systems directly. So that's why it will be useful. Then we come to next topic, which is factors of authentication. Okay, factors of authentication. This is very simple. See, basically what is factor of authentication? Now, if you try to do any financial transaction, what you do, you first have to, let's say you are using a card, so you must have a card, correct? Then you, let's say you're trying to get money out of an ATM, then you put that card, then you put your PIN, and after that you get what? You get money out of it, correct? Now these are all factors of authenticating that it's you. These are called factors of authentication, that is verification. Now there are three different ways of authentication. First is something you know. For example, your password. For logging in, you need a password. Then your PIN, correct? Let's say instead of, you use PIN in your Bhim app also, or any phone pay, whatever you use. So password or PIN. This is something you know, correct? PIN you remember, password you remember. Now second is something you have. Something you have, like a device, a token, or YubiKey, or let's say a card, like this. So something you have. So I have this phone, or I have this card. All these are something you have. Simple. Then last is something you are. Now mostly this is being used in India. Like in my phone, this is the phone, correct? Now this phone has certain pins, correct? Now this pin, UPI pin or whatever pin, is being used to carry out a transaction. Now if my friend has this phone, my phone only, if he has in his hand and he knows my pin of UPI, he can do a transaction. That is something you know, and something you have is ensured. What is the third way that is not right now applicable? That is something you are. For example, like using a fingerprint or using a iris scan. So all this are being evaluated if this can also be entered in our systems, correct? So this is being experimented. This is what we have right now. That is why you might have heard a term called two-factor authentication. This is what two-factor authentication means. Now, as we have seen, what are the factors of authentication? These are independent ways to verify identity. Now, there are three types. Something you have, for example, phone, device, token, card, whatever. Something you know, that is password, PIN, or OTP. OTP is also an example of something something you know. How do you know OTP? Because of your device or whatever, wherever you have registered. But this is also something you know. Then last is something you are. This you cannot change, which is biometric, finger, face, iris, all this. Understood? This is what the 3 levels of authentication are. Now, what is mostly used in India? As you saw, UPI is a two-factor by design. Device binding, that is, you must have this device for to have transaction with my UPI and the UPI pin. Then cards online are also card details that you must have, and OTP or pin. Correct? Now, have you seen one-factor authentication cards? The tap and go cards. Tap and go, you understand? Some of your rich friends might be using it. That is, just go, what they do with their card, they go to some place and then just mark it, just tap it. No pins, nothing. Correct? So it has only one factor of authentication. What is that? Something you have. What they have is that card. Now, something you know, that is knowing the pin and all, that is not there. Correct? That's why you might have seen in, if you watch TV series and all, in US you might have seen people giving their credit card sitting on in a restaurant like this and then just passing on. Correct? They don't say any pin, they don't say anything like we do. Here you will have to tell OTP and whatever. They just give their credit card, the person swipes it and comes back, because they have only one factor of authentication. Correct? That is an example of one factor authentication. Two factor authentication, all these are examples. Correct? Now, there is an issue that we are facing with respect to this two-factor authentication, especially when it involves OTP. Like, if you might have heard that your Bheem app is much more safer than your banking in which OTP comes to you. Why? Because if you see, Bheem has a different app. Now, somebody has to hack into that app, which is a bit difficult. Correct? And then get to your pin, and also it is completely automated. While once you get an SMS, now SMS, if you know, these are not end to end. So the text messages that you get are not end to end, they go through cellular network towers. Correct? So this can be hacked in between. Also, people call and ask you for OTP, this, that, and then you get plundered. Okay, so that's why they are a bit risky. So phishing and social engineering. So first issue that they have is this. Just a second. Yeah. So first issue they have is phishing and social engineering. So there are fake app sites that ask for OTP or PIN like this. Then SIM or number takeovers. When people pass on the SIM, correct? Some people stop using one SIM. Now, if they don't pay the bills, after 3 months, what will happen? After 3 months, what will happen? The company, 3 months or 6 months after that, the company makes that SIM deactivated, and after that, after some time, it starts giving that SIM to any other person who wants it. Correct? Now the next person has bought your SIM. Now he has the same number. Correct? Now you are doing some transaction that needs that number. So what will happen? That person will start getting your OTPs. Okay, so that is one way. Other thing is SIM swapping or call forwarding. That also involves it doing the same thing. Then malware and overlays, then flow level weak spots, all these. Like, some people develop approval or yes fatigue. What is this? That is, so many times they ask you agree, next, 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 agree, yes. So you keep on marking this without thinking much. So this is approval fatigue. Then what actually strengthens security beyond two-factor authentication? So there are many ways. Okay, there should be in-app cryptographic approvals. Correct? Instead of the SMS based OTP, some banks also started this. So for the bank, you will have to install their application on your systems or on your phones. Then in that application only you will get a pop-up of OTPs. So all that they are experimenting instead of the SMS OTP that you get. Then transaction signing and number matching. Okay, confirm exact amount pay. This is basic. Then biometric step up. This is what RBI is planning for international transactions. For international transaction, they are thinking of having biometric step up, that is adding that third layer of what you are. Understood? Then risk based check. So if there is some kind of very different kind of transaction from an account, let's say there is a student account and a lot of money is being siphoned off it or coming in it, then you can keep track of these accounts. Then beneficiary verification, cool off, all this basics. Then next topic, which is International Conference on Space 2025. This was done in India by Confederation of Indian Industries along with ISRO, NSIL, and this Denmark was the guest country. So the space agencies of the Denmark, this was the guest country. So these are the people that were organizing this International Conference on Space. Now in this, first thing, why this is in news? Nothing much. This is International Conference on Space 2025. Just if you can remember this, so this is harnessing space for global progress, innovation, policy and growth. Okay, this is the motto. Sometimes they have asked the motto. Usually they have asked for much more important thing like Olympics, but yeah. Then inauguration was done by our Science and Tech Minister Jitendra Singh. Then 500 plus delegates came. Usually what happens in all this, see, in these, the countries are actually showcasing what they have achieved in a particular field. For example, this is a India International Space Conference, so they will show that what India has achieved in space over these few years. This is what usually happens in conferences conducted by the government like this. Now if you see, same thing will happen here also. So what is given, what ambitions and missions were highlighted. Now different people will have speeches here, different important dignitaries, and they will tell about India's mission. India is doing this, India is doing that. So the same thing. So they talked about certain missions like Bharti Space Station. Okay, so some missions that they talked about, I just listed them so that you just give it a look. Okay, now these are the important missions. Slowly, whenever they come in news, we will cover them. For example, this Gaganyaan we have covered. Okay, now Nisar we have covered. Chandrayaan 4, when it comes in news, we'll cover. Moon mission, Bharti Space Station, we talked about it. Correct. So 1, 2 are left. So all this becomes important. Whenever they come in news, you should see them. So these are just listing of those names. Then what other key projects were included? Now here also some we have already seen, like Axiom 4 we have seen, SPADEX we have already seen, then Mission Shakti we have seen in science and tech classes. Correct. So all these missions are, again, it has been listed here and you can see them. Okay, whenever they come in news, they are, that means important because the government is overtly focusing on them. Then you come to this topic of micro LED versus OLED. Yeah, see. Yeah, see, very basic. There are three things. There are three like this. See, one is LCD. Most screens that you see are LCDs. Okay, cheap screens made up of LCD is what? Liquid crystal display. Okay, now all those mini LED TVs, those are also LCDs. LED, don't get confused between LED and LCD. LED is light emitting diode, it is a light technology. LCD is liquid crystal display, it is a display technology. Don't get confused, yeah LCD hai ya LED hai. It can be both because these are two different technologies. We will also see about mini LEDs, mini LED TV. Mini LED TVs you might have heard, that is an LCD screen only. Okay, now see how it works. So first thing is LCD. Now see, in LCD, if you see, how does LCD work? All these details is fine. I'll explain it to you in very simple terms. LCD works because of a white backlight that they have. They have a strong white backlight. Now, this white backlight is then using a polarimeter. Using a polarimeter is divided into its constituent parts. That is the different colors with your, correct? Now, once it is bifurcated into its different parts or different colors, then there are small gates like this. There are small gates like this. This is being done by a polarimeter. Then these small gates do what? Now these small gates are made for red, blue and green lights. Correct? There are only red, green and blue. These are the three lights that they have. Now if you know, just by the combination of these three lights we can make any other color. Okay, so what they do, they have many different gates. Now some gates open only for red, some gates open only for blue, some gates open only for green. Now what gate will open when? That will be based on what picture has to be shown to you. That's it. So there is a backlight white that is constantly emitting light through a polarimeter. They are bifurcating the light, and then there are different gates based on which sometimes somewhere there will be red light, sometimes green light, sometimes blue light. Through that they will create an entire structure of whatever color you want. Correct? These are all made up of gates like this. So if he is wearing a red shirt, then here the red gates will open. Okay, this hole will be red gates, and let's say he has a blue tie. So somewhere here there will be blue tie like thing. That is blue gates will open. So that's how a combination will be formed and you will be shown something on the screen. This is how LCD works. Now one most important thing that you have here is white backlight that is constantly on. Now if some light is constantly on, there are two issues with it. There are two issues. What are the issues? See, with LEDs, that's why you get two issues. With LCDs, you have two issues. First is, अगर ये white light हमेशा ही on है, if this backlight is on all the time, what it will do? It will consume a lot of power. So power consumption is very high. This is done. Power consumption will be high because even this is not switching off for any time. Now this white light is getting, using the polarimeter, is getting distributed into different lights, but now right now let's say some part needs only red light. Now all the other constituents are getting wasted anyway, correct? So this consumes a lot of power because of the constant white backlight. Then one is this power consumption is very high. Second is the picture quality won't be as great as in the other cases. Correct? So one is the power consumption is high, second is the picture quality won't be great because it is not using all different colors or all different lights. Instead, through a white light only it is trying to bifurcate and arrange it. So this is the issue with LCDs. Now, once you get this, now we come to OLEDs. OLEDs are what? Basically, by the way, why I called that mini LED TVs are LCDs? Then why LED is written? See, right now I explained that there will be a backlight, correct? White backlight. Now if that white backlight comes from LEDs, then it will consume less power, and that is why they get called mini LED TVs. Those are also examples of LCDs. Then OLED TV. Now this is a bit different. Now understand this. So there is an organic layer like this. There is an organic layer with different parts. Now this organic layer, if you see, this organic layer will do what? in this organic layer, each constituent emits light on their own. So there is an organic layer. On that there are different kind of different kind of colors or diodes that are placed. Now these are emitting different colors. Now let's say this is emitting some green color, this is emitting red color. Now they are independently emitting colors, correct? There are many of them on an organic substrate. So there is an organic substrate, base placed on that are various different diodes. Now these diodes are emitting colors on their own, not that white color and using the polarimeter you are somehow managing the colors. These are emitting colors on their own. That is why the quality is much better. Understood? But there is an issue with OLEDs also. OLEDs have a issue that because they are using that organic substrate layer, there is a issue of burning in. Burning in is what? See, if you see any television or anything, there are some colors that will be, or some pixels that will be overtly used, while some pixels that will be very less used. Now organic layers have a tendency that they degrade much quicker. That is why the layers that are being used more, and the pixels that are being used more and more, that will get dimmer and dimmer. That's why over time the quality will be like, some places it will start getting dimmer and it won't be that bright. Why? Because it was used more and more, and organic layers tend to get little less and less, or they get disintegrated over time. Then after this we have micro LEDs. Micro LEDs similar now, but there are two differences with OLEDs that we'll see. Basically, one way I can tell you, micro LEDs are using inorganic substrate. They are using inorganic substrate now, or inorganic layer. So on inorganic layer these are placed. Now organic layer had spaces to be placed. That's why it was easier to make OLEDs. Now this is using inorganic layer, but the layer does not have spaces. In fact, each small micro LED is pasted on that layer. That is why they are called micro LEDs. That is, on each of them all these are getting pasted. Now this is an LED in itself, that is, it will emit light, correct? It will emit light, but what will happen? You have to stick all of them differently. That's why it will take much more effort as well as cost. But yeah, this provides much better picture quality. So picture quality is definitely much better, but of course it will require much more effort and cost. Why? Because you are sticking each part of it separately. Understood? Then once you get all of this, then it gets theoretical. So let's see that. Yeah. So what it says, first thing, how are OLEDs and micro LEDs similar or different? So context, see, under the Indian Semiconductor Mission, MITI is evaluating to establish a micro LED display fabrication lab or ecosystem in India. So the thing is that our ministry is thinking of opening up a micro LED fabrication lab. Now the issue is that this is getting dicey, because some people are saying that we should rather open a LCD fabrication lab or OLED fabrication lab that are already in use. Micro LED is a future technology, correct? Now both have its advantage, disadvantage. Debate does not matter. Now similarities, what? Both are self-emissive LED displays. That is, each pixel makes its own light, correct? Each pixel is making its own light. Then deep blacks and high contrast are possible. Unlike LCD, do not need a backlight. Now one more thing with LCD, this will help you understand why you are not getting deep colors using LCD. For example, if I want black color in LCD, what do? How do I show black color in LCD? Now LCD is emitting white light all the time. Now it is getting broken down into mostly three different colors. It is getting broken down into three major colors, that is red, yellow and blue. Now red, green and blue are being distributed. Now how do I make black by mixing all of them? So you cannot make black by mixing all of them. That is why LCD scheme at best can look gray. Correct? So it won't be that sharp. Also it will consume power all the time. Now next. Key difference is what? OLED uses organic emitters, micro LEDs uses inorganic or micrometer scale LEDs, typically less than 100 micrometer. Understood? Same thing. Then where are they used today? So OLED is now common in phones and TVs. Not every phone or TV. The Apple one that you might have seen, Apple virtual reality headsets, those are using OLEDs. Okay, then some OLED TVs you might have seen. Some OLED TVs you might have seen, correct? So this is being used. OLEDs some people have in their homes. That Sony Bravia OLED TV you might have heard. Okay, so that is being used. Now here micro LEDs have appeared in wearables and high-end modular TVs. Example Samsung's 146-inch, the wall, all this. Basically some very high cost, just experimental basis made TVs and all, that is being used. Micro LEDs. The claim is that micro LEDs, because they have a future, so India is thinking that OLEDs and LCDs are mostly captured by China, correct? So what we should do, we should invest in micro LEDs and take a first movers advantage. This is the plan. Then why it is limited? Scaling micro LEDs to larger high-end resolution is hard and expensive. Placing millions of tiny LEDs accurately, correct? This only I explained you. You have to put millions of tiny LCDs and even some error will cause the quality to degrade. Then micro performance, if you measure, then this will have much more efficiency. Micro LEDs are more efficient. Then longevity, there is no burn-in risk. I explained you what is burn-in, correct? Like OLEDs. Then speed and detail, so nanosecond class response, so speed will be obviously better. Then picture quality is higher peak brightness, wide color gamut, excellent contrast. You understood? This will be much better for micro LEDs. Then what's blocking micro LEDs? First is, of course, because this is much more expensive. Second is manufacturing hurdles are there, that we understood, precision and all those is needed, wafer based. Then net effect is there is limited volumes today, but it may be the future. That is the whole prospect of it. Then we come to protein language models. This is our last topic, protein language models. Very simple. Those who have done science intake classes, it will be much more easier. Protein language models. So protein are made up of different kind of amino acids. Now all these can be categorized. So simply when we were doing ICT, you learned about natural language processing. When we were doing AI, correct? So natural language processing. Now, or LLM models. Now see, I'll explain it to you in very short. So natural language processing. Yeah. Could you please change the color? Yeah. Okay. So natural language processing or LLMs. Now, what you can understand is how ChatGPT works. See, what it does, if you ask it to write something on, let's say, cricket. So what it will write? It will start with, let's say, cricket. Then all the database it has, based on that it will predict. Let's say I give it cricket is and dash 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 dash. Now what this system will do, or LLM models do, that after cricketers they'll see all the database, what words should come next. Correct? What words should come next. Now in some of the cases, let's say they find out that useless is there. So cricket is a useless sport is the next words that they are seeing. Correct? Now either word, it can be cricket is a global sport. These are the next pair of words that it may see. Other can be cricket is a boring sport, whatever. So at different sources it will find different categories of words. Now it will see the reoccurrence probability of each of them. So let's say this is shown in 20% of the database sources that it has. This is shown in 50% of them, and this is shown in, let's say, 29% of them. 1% is something that remains. Correct? Now what it will next type is cricket is a global sport. So that is how it works. That is, it predicts based on what is most probable. Understood? This is how LLM models work. That is why if you might have seen the older versions of ChatGPT, it used to stop in between. Why it was stopping? It was stopping in between when something becomes too close. For example, this is approximately equal to, let's say, 50 point something percent, and this is also equal to 49 point something percent, very close to each other. Correct? Then what it will do, what should it write, that it used to think. That's why it took time. Now the technology has advanced a lot, so it is using many different mechanisms, but this is how the basic of how these models used to work. Now similar thing, English language is made up of word. Using those words, it was able to frame sentences based on its predictive mechanism. Similar thing we can do with proteins. That is what protein language models do. Let's see. So first thing is why they are in news. Okay. See, recently researchers have explained how these models are working. Now see, what is PLM? PLM is protein language model. So an AI model for proteins. This is an AI model for protein. Now see, treats amino acids as words. As I explained you, like the sentences are made up of words, proteins are made up of amino acids. Then and a sequence as a sentence. Simple. So here you had different words, and using those words, what ChatGPT used to do, it used to make sentences, correct, based on its predictive mechanism. Here you have different amino acids. Based on that, what it will do, it will make a sequence of amino acids, or in other words, proteins. That's it. This is what they are doing. So this processes protein sequences, not human text. It will process protein sequences, then learns patterns directly from large sequence database. Now understand that once it starts understanding proteins or the amino acids, now you don't need to put it manually, that what this particular protein consists of, what is the chain. You need not write the whole chemical formula, which is very long and difficult to interpret. Just you have to give it a sample or understanding of this protein, and then what it will do, it will be able to judge all the sequence of amino acids that are being used. Correct? And then it will become its database. Now next time if you ask him to make something similar protein or some similar modulation like that it will be able to do. Understood? Then how do PLMs work? This is trained on huge multi-species sequence corpora, then learns grammar or syntax of how amino acids co-occur. All this understanding just by the database it gets. Now predicts a masked or missing amino acids. Now let's say I get some chain of protein or amino acid from somewhere. Now let's say some part of it was infected. Now I need to understand which part was infected. So what it can do, it knows the entire chain and it will match it. It will match it with the database it has. Now if there is some discrepancy, it can mark it and give you the results. So in different ways it can work. Then connect sequence patterns to structure and function. Based on the structures, based on the amino acid pattern, it will be able to realize that this amino acid sequence is just like that protein, so it will do similar work. So that correlation also it can form. Then what can PLMs predict? See, 3D structures from sequence, then stability and binding to other molecules, then mutation effects on functions, and then likely cellular role. All this they'll be able to predict. Correct? Like they know that a protein from a virus that starts with this eventually becomes this. This they have in the database. Now if I give him a protein that is encoding this virus, then it knows that what the next mutation might be. So it will be able to tell me that next mutation will be like this, and then we can predict it as well as stop such mutations or such diseases to be spread. All this right now it is mostly experimental. Eventually we will be able to use most of it. Right now we are doing the basic work. Now some results have started showing with AlphaFold and all. So AlphaFold, you can remember, this is the most advanced protein LLM models we have. Then can PLMs design new proteins? No. Very logically, yes, they can design new proteins. One thing is analyzing, like the chat GPT, the question that you put, it analyzes. Here, the protein sequence that you give, it will analyze. That is one work. Other work is, like the chat GPT does, generates an entire new content. Here also it can generate an entire new protein. Same thing. So yes, scientists specify a function, model purpose, and new sequences can be formed. Now, you can make many different things, like, not right now, but eventually you can make plastic degrading enzymes, because these enzymes are also made up of proteins, so that you can make. Then biofuel enzymes, therapeutic proteins, all these you can mix. Then designs are validated in labs. This is fine. Then impact on medicine and biotech. So drug discovery, it will help in drug discovery. Then personalized medicine, based on your own genome, your own protein sequences, it will be able to tell what medicines you should take, all that. Then industrial biotech, overall this will give you quicker and improved processes for different medicines as well as medical mechanisms. Understood? That's it. Now we have questions. Yeah, try this. Okay, what it says, first statement is OLED panels uses a backlight, but micro LED panels do not. As you understand, OLEDs also don't use a backlight. They also use those LEDs that can emit light on its own. So first is wrong. Then mini LED TVs are LCDs, correct? That use thousands of LEDs as a backlight with local dimming zones, correct? Then last, QD OLED displays are self-emissive and therefore do not require a backlight. Now, you don't know QD. Actually, they are quantum dots. So when these OLED TVs are made using quantum dots, that we'll discuss some other day. So when they are made using quantum dots, then they are called QD OLED TV. But what you do know is this, that OLED displays are self-immersive and they do not require backlight. So this is enough for you to mark this as correct. So what you got? First is wrong, other two are correct. So 2 and 3. Understood? Then next. Do it. Okay, then let's see what it says. It says first is measuring stellar parallax requires two target stars at different distances. No, they used to, but two are not required. What is required? One was observation from Earth, one was observation from this satellite, and you needed only one star. Correct? Like instead of the two eyes, you just used one Earth and this satellite. So only one star is enough. Why they use two stars? To show that there are different parallaxes being observed. That's it. Then larger baselines produce larger apparent shifts for the same star. Correct? Apparent shift will be larger for larger baselines. Correct? Then stellar parallax navigation already surpasses DSN radio tracking accuracy for deep space craft. Now, DSN is deep space network. This is deep space network. All this you need not know. Deep space network. Now what it says that stellar parallax navigation already surpasses this radio and all. As I told you, these are advanced technologies that give you much more accurate results. But what is the use of this parallax? That it gives you some idea. And also when you are going to some place that you don't have direct connection with Earth, then this becomes important. Correct? So this does not surpass DSN radio tracking accuracy. So this also becomes wrong. 1 and 3 are wrong, 2 only becomes your answer. Understood? Then next. This is easy, you can do. Okay. So what it says, first statement, UPI typically combines device binding something you have, okay, with a UPI pin that is something you know. Correct? Two-factor authentication is there in UPI. Correct? Something you have and something you know. Correct? This is correct. Then second is SMS OTPs are inherently phishing resistant because they are tied to the SIM. Are they phishing resistant? No. We told that there is a major issue with respect to SMS based OTP. Correct? So this is absolutely wrong. First was right, second was wrong. Answer becomes 1. That is 1 only. Understood? That's it. Now, that's it for this class. There was also a question that I can remember that was on Bheem. Okay, it was a previous year question based on Bheem. That you can see, that also you will be able to solve. Correct? Bheem, you know the basics of Bheem. Correct? UPI payment system, that only you need to know. Otherwise, this factor of authentication was the only statement that was needed. So you can solve that. That's it for this class. Thank you.